Plus to order. Kelly, would you mind doing a roll call?
Collins,
Here.
Merle,
Here.
Neese. Here. Neeson,
Here.
Topliff.
Present. All right, we have a quorum, so please rise. Dear God, as we gather this evening, we ask that you influence our hearts and minds so that we can govern this city fairly and justly. We thank you for the many blessings you have bestowed upon our community, and we ask for your continued protection upon our city staff and crews. Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Next item on the agenda is the consent agenda.
Make a motion to approve the consent agenda.
I second.
Okay, any discussions about the consent agenda? Okay, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Okay,
All right, next item is ordinances. Bill 4770 to become ordinance 4770, second reading. An ordinance vacating an alley between West Broadway and West First Street upon the request of adjacent property owners Johnson, Sieber, and Harris, and further retaining a utility easement within the area to be vacated.
Make a motion to approve Bill 4770 to become ordinance 4770, second reading.
Second.
hi, Michael.
Good evening. So this is the second reading for the vacate. There's been no concerns. We will be retaining an easement. Is there any other questions?
Okay, Kelly.
Thank you.
Collins,
Yes.
Merle,
Yes.
Neese,
Yes.
Neeson,
Yes.
Topliff.
Yes.
All right. Next ordinance, Bill 4771 to become ordinance 4771, second reading. An ordinance authorizing the city administrator to execute on behalf of the city of West Plains various agreements with contractors relating to the Highway 160 Railroad Overpass project.
Make a motion to approve Bill 4771 to become ordinance 4771, second reading.
I second.
Good evening again.
Yes.
Alrighty, so this is again, second reading. This is to cover between us and MoDOT for the overpass project. Specifically, I believe the language in this one references a lighting agreement. Before this project is over, there will be more. We are anticipating another one sooner rather than later to iron out the final details with the railroad. Because the previous one, they have since updated or are updating their funding commitment because the cost went up. And
Good.
so it hasn't yet been 100%, pen to paper, but that is one you can anticipate. We probably will have to bring back to you, I would say, in the coming months.
Okay,
Any other questions?
How much increase did our costs go?
For the overall project or?
What, the part you just referenced?
Okay, so their original commitment was around $350,000, and that was for the overpass, the closure of Thornburg, and then that covered, BNSF is mandated to have to do 5%. And then we got so much for a closing. With the 5% of the total construction cost going up, that number goes with it. And so we have to adjust accordingly based on the actual bid.
Thank you.
And when we did that one originally, there was no clause for so-and-so can just stop. And so we actually have to bring, that's part of why we did the MoDOT agreement with that clause, so that when we have these, you mean we get more money. That way we can just sign them and go.
Cool.
So,
all right.
any other questions?
Okay, Kelly.
Thank you.
Collins,
Yes.
Merle,
Yes.
Neese,
Yes.
Neeson,
Yes.
Topliff.
Yes.
All right. Bill 4772 to become ordinance 4772, first reading. An ordinance vacating an alley between North College Street and East Olden Street and further reserving a utility easement within the area to be vacated.
Make a motion to approve Bill 4772 to become ordinance 4772, first reading.
Second.
Good evening.
Hi.
So This vacate, again, so far there's been no comments, but this is just the first reading, so it is certainly possible that between now and next month, we'll hear from somebody. The primary thing to think of with this one, we will be retaining the easement. And then I believe is going to be some sort of standing agreement so that should that be necessary to use for an access in an event of emergency, it is fine that they do so.
Yeah, I do believe, the school that planning and zoning reported that there will be gates involved that.
Yeah, it wouldn't just be completely blocked. off.
Right. But main concern is to close the campus a little better and for, safety concerns, so.
Any other questions?
Hey, Kelly?
Thank you.
Collins,
Yes.
Merle,
Yes.
Neese,
Yes.
Neeson,
Yes.
Toplet.
Yes.
Bill 4773 to become ordinance 4773, first reading. An ordinance to repeal and replace the existing purchasing policy, ordinance 4710 for the city of West Plains, Missouri.
Make a motion to approve Bill 4773 to become ordinance 4773, first reading.
Second.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. Last time that we edited our purchasing policy was actually 2 years ago. So it's always good to go back through your policies and see if there's anything missing, anything that really needs to be changed because processes have changed. So last year we went through a audit with MoDOT for our transit grants, and they had a couple of suggestions. They asked that we add into our purchasing policy, and we figured since we needed to do that, we might as well look at the whole thing. So what we've added in this year is 2 of those grant related clauses. One of them is to check our suspend to bar list for federal funds. That's something we already do, but it wasn't formalized as part of our policy, so they asked us to put it in there. The other part of it is checking the disadvantaged business enterprises list for federal funding as well, specifically the MoDOT list for transit grants. So we've added that as well as part of our processes and part of our policy. We've also added in a section for change orders. Our last policy defined what a change order was, but did not have any process or policy about how those should be approved. And we've got a lot of construction grants underway right now that we think probably there might be some change orders on. So we figured we should get a formal policy in place for those. We've also reduced the formal bid response timeline from 21 days to 10 days, which is the state requirement. For some grants, that amount will still have to be 21 days for responses. Some federal grants do require that. But for general responses for formal bids, we'll have a 10-day business day response timeline. And then the last 2 things that we changed, they both are related to changing the council approval limit so that the authority for items that are over $25,000, if they have been budgeted and called out as part of the budget process, no longer have to come before council as long as we follow the rest of the policy, which includes getting cooperative purchasing or getting the required number of bids or quotes in for those purchases. So if anything has been budgeted, comes in at or under budget, and you all have already seen that as part of the budget process, Sam will be able to, or the city administrator, I guess I should make this formal. The city administrator will be able to approve those. And then the same thing goes for surplus items. So if we have something that we anticipate will bring in less than 25,000, the city administrator would be able to sign off on those as opposed to needing to come to council for approval to get rid of something at surplus. Any questions? Because that's a lot. So, yeah.
On the items that on the bid that's less, yeah, the 10-day notice period. Do we keep a list of eligible and active contractors that we can notify via electronically? That way they've got plenty of time to do their bidding work and
Well-
not put them behind the 8 ball, so to speak.
Yeah, in general, we do have certain contractors that we know for sure might be interested, but also in some purchasing requirement cases, you're not allowed to contact specific vendors because it gives them kind of a leg up. So there are some times that we may not be able to follow that process, but in general, we like to have a list of vendors that we know would be interested in something to give them time to reply. Michael may, or Christopher may have, one of the 2 of them may have more information on that.
The reason I ask is,
Anything else?
you know, if it's a big project, 10 days is not a lot of time. Crunch numbers to get a good bid. And my thoughts.
Yeah, 21 days is not a lot of time, honestly.
Yeah.
So I mean, in a lot of cases, it's not only 10 days. But this allows us, so like if we've got something that's like $15,000, we don't have to wait 3 weeks to get prices back in. We can go ahead and get the project moving because it's a small amount. So this just gives us the latitude to be able to say, we don't have to have 21 days. We can go to 10 if we need to. I mean, I think that for the most part, we'll try our best to be reasonable. We want to get good bids in as well.
Yeah.
We don't want people making calculation errors and us having to go back to the drawing board and prolonging the amount of time a project is out for bid just because we are rushing it too much.
Right.
So,
Understood.
yeah, I don't think that 10 days is going to be what we do for everything. It just gives us the ability to go to 10 days, which is the state requirement.
All right, thank you.
Yeah, you bet.
Right, Kelly?
Collins,
Yes.
Merle,
Yes.
Nace,
Yes.
Nason,
Yes.
Toplet.
Yes.
All right. Next item is resolutions. Resolution 2024-13. A resolution appointing director and alternate director to the Missouri Joint Municipal Electric Utility Commission.
Make a motion to approve resolution 2024-13.
Sam?
Thank you. Good evening, Mayor, Council. This resolution is something that we usually prepare with MPUA upon a change of director or city administrator. In the past, we actually listed out the individuals in those positions, and after talking with MPUA, they said you can't just pass a resolution that designates the utilities director or city administrator in either the director or the alternate role. So this just cleans up a little bit of paperwork. I think the last time we had this former director Hanshaw was on there, so they had noticed that needed to be changed. And so this is really just a paperwork administrative act, but this way it should in the future, again, without making any other changes, it'll designate the utilities director as the primary person for the board of MPUA and then the city administrator as alternate. So
Who's our utility director?
Shane Eads
Shane.
in the back. So, Paul man.
Give her to it.
Yeah, that's not.
All right. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All right, now the next resolution, 24-14, requires special handling. So at the end of this one, we, after each caveat, we'll need a first and a second to approve each.
And
caveat.
then pass the resolution as
And
a
then-
whole with it.
Yeah, and then
Yep.
we'll pass it as a whole at the end. So,
Resolution 2024-14, a resolution to apply for an award with DRA for the fiscal year 2024 Federal Award Program Cycle, and to designate and appoint the city administrator and to give them the authority to perform certain duties in administration of said award for and on behalf of the city. First item, to designate and appoint Sam Anselm, city administrator, to perform all duties and administration of said award.
So make a motion to approve resolution 2024-14 subsection 1.
yes,
Second.
okay,
Second item, to provide additional funds in the amount of $0 to said award.
Make a motion to approve resolution 2024-14 subsection 2.
Second. That a tie?
Third item, to make no in-kind contribution with a fair market value of $0 to said award.
Make a motion to approve resolution 2024-14 subsection 3.
Second.
Fourth item, that in the event of an administration change, the new city administrator shall continue to have such authority under this resolution.
Make a motion to approve resolution 2024-14 subsection 4.
Second.
okay. Now we need a resolution for 24.
Make a motion to approve resolution 2024-14 in its entirety.
Second.
You don't have to do roll call on this one, correct?
Not this one.
All those in favor
I,
Yeah. All right, now the next resolution with the Missouri, this one requirements from the Missouri Ethics Commission will require a roll call vote at the end of the resolution.
Resolution 2024-15, a resolution of the city of West Plains, Missouri, readopting and reaffirming the requirements and policies of Chapter 2, Article 6, Sections 2-496 through 2-501 of the Municipal Code of the city of West Plains related to conflicts of interest.
Make a motion to approve resolution 2024-15.
second.
Okay, do you
Sam?
want to make any comments on this?
Yep, just real quickly, you see this ordinance usually once every other year. Sometimes we do it every year, but basically it just reaffirms the city's commitment to oh, it's escaping me right now. Kelly can probably. Conflicts of interest. Thank you, Mayor. So we actually have that as part of our adopted code. So when we reached out to MEC just to check how often other cities renew this, they said a lot of cities will just do it by resolution. Since it's already part of their code, they don't need to have two separate readings like we do when we present it as an ordinance, or as we have presented it to an ordinance to the council in the past. So they said a resolution with a roll call vote would be sufficient. So.
I know in the
Get this-
past, when we did it as an ordinance, you have to have the two readings. There was times where there's a deadline we have to have this done by, and then several of us have to fill out the conflict of interest paperwork. And we'd have to do a special because we missed the deadline. So this will clean this up a little bit. All right, Kelly, for the roll call.
Collins,
Yes.
Merle,
Yes.
Neese,
Yes.
Neeson,
Yes.
Toppler.
Yes.
All right. Resolution 2024-16, a resolution of the city of West Plains, Missouri, stating intent to seek funding through the Community Development Block Grant Program and authorizing the mayor and city administrator to pursue activities in an attempt to secure funding.
Make a motion to approve resolution 2024-16.
I second.
I like
Good evening. A lot of you are familiar with the Garner Phase 2 project, and we have actually already passed a resolution in support of that project. When we submitted that resolution with the paperwork, CDBG came back and said, we basically need you to tweak the language implying you're seeking funding. That's what this is. We're getting them that additional resolution showing that we are actually seeking funding for the project and not just hey, we are supporting this project. And so that was pretty much the only reason we needed this one. They wanted that language added in there, and it was different enough. We felt it warranted coming back before you fine folk. Any questions?
I didn't read the resolution in its entirety, but I'm sure it does specify what application you're applying for funding for.
Yes.
Okay. Thank you.
All those in favor say aye.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, Sam?
Good evening again. Just a few items for you this evening. First food truck festival starts this Thursday at the Civic Center. So from 10 to 2, we're invite members of the public. Come on out to the Civic Center. We'll have a number of food trucks. Their plan is to do that every third Thursday this summer. Correct, Todd? Yep, good deal. So invite everybody to come out. Second, want to give kudos to the library team and their library director, Greg Carter. We have had to expand our summer reading story times due to overwhelming popularity. We're splitting those out and we're having 2 separate reading times. So everybody's invited to come out, bring their kids. You don't technically have to bring your kids if you just want to go and listen to a good story from 10 to 11 o'clock and from 2 to 3. So check out the city's Facebook page or the library's Facebook page for information on that. Another item, parks related, solar shades for the Hilburn Sports Complex that were part of this year's capital improvement plan have been delivered. We have to let the season conclude before we can actually go in and tear some concrete up. So within a couple of weeks or after a couple of weeks, once the softball baseball season concludes for the summer, we'll get those installed and should be available by fall and certainly next summer, for any other events that we have out there. And then finally, a reminder to the public, City Hall will be closed this Wednesday, for Juneteenth, so we will be, out of the office. If folks need to sign up for utility billing, our vendor Invoice Cloud has a sweepstakes going on where if people have already signed up or if they want to sign up for electronic billing, they're entered into a sweepstakes. So we wanted to pass that information along to members of the public on behalf of the vendors. So encourage people to sign up for electronic billing. Doesn't mean you have to pay online, but it means you can get your bill a little bit faster and plan accordingly. So happy to answer any questions for me. Thank you.
All right. Well, no further business. May God bless